Good morning. Let us be very honest, very gentle, and very clear. You know the hour when trouble knocks and the heart begins to pound. Excuse me, it isn't only the heart. It is the breath, the jaw, the stomach. The whole temple begins to ring its alarm bell. And in that moment, you want God. You want God with all your might. But notice the contradiction. Your words begin to run ahead of your awareness. Your lips fling phrases heavenward, while the inner place that should be listening is pacing the floor. There is no condemnation in this. It is simply to say, if you read this moment through the eyes of the world, you will miss the great point. Panic wants a rescue. Spirit offers a presence. Now hear me. Do not make the mistake of thinking prayer is primarily speech, pleading, or mental effort. When fear heats the body, speech becomes a form of wrestling. We are not heard for our much speaking. We are not saved by force of syllables. You do not overcome a storm by shouting into it. Have you ever gone to the seashore in a gale and tried to tell the wind to behave? You know what you will find. Your voice is carried away, and with it, your strength. The storm pays no mind to the voice that battles it. The storm yields to the calm that is prior to it. Therefore, the first act of true prayer in the hour of alarm is not to speak, but to retire. Retire, not in defeat, but in recognition. Retire, not from life, but into life. Withdraw to the inner sanctuary, where the presence precedes thought and outlives sensation. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord. Not as a slogan to hang on the wall of the mind, but as a directive to the nervous system, to consciousness itself. Stand ye still, that is, let the breath loosen. Let the shoulders drop. Let the frantic "I must" pause until the gentle "I am" is felt. For until there is the sense, down in the region of the heart, that something other than your panic is present, you are praying to the storm about the storm. This is the correction we make together, you and me. It isn't harsh. It isn't punitive. It is faithful. Prayer changes its nature when the one who prays ceases to contend and begins to behold. In that beholding, words, if they come as communion, not as struggle. Until then, be content to be silent. It takes what is called wisdom to refuse the impulse to plead and to choose instead to recognize. The battle is not yours, but God's. So stand ye still. Retire into the quiet prior to fear. Wait until presence is felt, and only then let prayer proceed. This is our orientation. This is the doorway. Do not pray from panic. Pause until presence is felt. Now, having stepped back from the storm, we must face the real question, the only question that alters the nature of prayer. Who is praying? Is it the personal sense, this frightened, bargaining, world-educated I, with its lists, its timetables, its emergencies? Or is it the Christ, the divine state of consciousness that beholds what already is and needs nothing added to itself? If you read your hour through the eyes of the world, you will miss the great point. You will assume that prayer is a way to get something from God. But the Christ does not get. The Christ beholds. The Christ reveals. The Christ rests in the fullness of being and witnesses supply, safety, order, and love as already present phenomena of God. The difference is not subtle. It is absolute. Let us define our adversary accurately, so that we do not fight shadows and call that piety. Anxiety is not a moral failure. Anxiety is a way of reading, excuse me, misreading the scene through material sense. It is the world's report, the newspaper of the senses announcing separation, scarcity, danger. It tells you there is a you over here and a crisis over there, and perhaps a God somewhere else who might, on a good day, be persuaded to intervene. That reading produces fear, because it is false at its root. The storm you think you face is largely the weather pattern of that reading. When the lens is wrong, the world appears hostile. When the lens is Christ, the same scene is found transparent to presence. Now hear the paradox that sits at the doorway. You cannot calm yourself by effort, yet you must give the one effort that is required, relaxing from effort. No one can, by personal will, seize the peace of God. I can of mine own self do nothing. Yet no one receives the peace of God without consenting to still the personal will. That is the holy labor. That is the honest work. Stand ye still, not as passivity but as relinquishment. Withdraw the clawing hand of the mind. Let go the desperate grip on the outcome, and you will find that in your yielding, peace appears of itself. The river does not begin to flow because you push. It is discovered because you stop damming it with your striving. And let me set a boundary of reassurance for you and for me. No one need fear the Christ. The Christ is not destructive to you, nor to your home, nor to your health. The Christ is destructive only to the false claim that you are separate, unsafe, and unprovided for. It dissolves the idol of a self apart from God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the hypnotism of appearances, liberty from the tyranny of the stopwatch and the ledger. If you feel something in you trembling at the presence of peace, do not misread that trembling as danger. It is Herod in you, the usurping sense of self, fearing to lose a throne it never rightly held. So when you come again to pray, ask first, gently but truthfully, who is this I? If it is the personal sense, it will be urgent to get, to fix, to secure. It will hurry. It will plead. Stand ye still. Retire 1 minute more. Let the personal sense fall silent. Wait until the inner assurance, not an idea about God, but the felt reality of God, is present. Then, and only then, let the Christ pray in you as beholding. In that shift of I, prayer changes from petition to communion, from struggle to recognition, and the storm that seemed so authoritative is found a passing mist before the sun that never moved. Now let us do the simplest, most demanding thing. Demanding only because we are so accustomed to doing. Before any words, give me 60 seconds. Stop forming sentences to God. Stop composing promises. Stop arranging outcomes in your mind. Consent, just for 1 minute, to stillness as the first act of prayer. The battle is not yours. Stand ye still, and for 60 breaths or 6, let the inner door swing on its quiet hinges. Bring the attention gently, not with force, with gentleness, to where you are. Feel the chair under you, the weight of the body, the contact of the feet with the floor. Let the hands rest as if they have nothing to carry. Notice the breath without managing it. When the exhale comes, let it be permission to stop managing outcomes. Shoulders soften. Jaw unclenches. The brow lifts away from its frown. If thoughts hurry to draft a prayer, bow to them and let them pass like visitors in the hallway. We are not sending anyone away. We are not entertaining anyone either. We are simply entering the inner room. Now, the sanctuary. It is not a place you travel to. It is the center of being, where the Father within bears witness to itself. You do not bring God there. You are brought there by God. When you retire into this minute, do not hunt for peace. Hunting is noise. Do not chase silence. Chasing is sound. Be as one who notices the sky behind the clouds. The clouds move, thicken, thin. The sky is not disturbed by their procession. Underneath the noise, there is a presence already present. Underneath the world's report, there is a life reporting itself. If you listen for fireworks, you will miss it. Presence is rarely a trumpet. Often, it is a small softening, a slight widening, the sense that the breath is breathing you rather than you breathing it. Sometimes it is the feeling that the edges of you have stepped back half an inch, and in that space something benevolent is holding you. Sometimes it is no feeling at all, only the quiet realization that you are not managing anything in this instant, and nothing has collapsed. Do not grade the minute. Do not measure its holiness by symptoms. Recognize the almost imperceptible pivot from I must to I am, and be content. If a sound arises, a siren, a child, a clock, let it be included. Stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the recognition of the presence underneath the sound. Let traffic go by in the street and thoughts go by in the mind as the same event. Watch the stream, but be the bank. In this 1 minute, the personal sense loosens its grip. In this 1 minute, the Christ, which is not a person you become, but a consciousness that becomes evident, begins to pray in you as quiet recognition. Then, if words come, they come as communion. If no words come, nothing is lacking. The door has opened. Keep it on its hinges with 1 minute, many times a day, until the minute lengthens into a way of life. Now a correction must be made, quiet but firm, so that the doorway you have opened will not be blocked by well-meaning noise. After a minute of stillness, many of us, out of long habit, snatch up our phrases again. God is love. God is supply. All is well. While the heart is still clenched, the jaw is still set, the breath is still shallow. Do you see what happens? The words become another form of wrestling. The letter is employed as a lever to pry open heaven, and the very phrases meant to free begin to press. Then, when nothing seems to change, the mind adds a little judgment. I must not be spiritual enough. That is not prayer. That is pressure. That is not grace. That is grading. Do not make the mistake ever of being satisfied with a statement of truth. A statement is a signpost, not the city. The letter of truth cannot replace conviction. There must come, not up in the region of the head, but down in the region of the heart, an actual sense of God present. When that sense is absent and we recite, we are like people describing bread to a hungry child while withholding the loaf. Better to be silent and consenting than eloquent and withholding. Better to wait with an open heart than to speak with a closed chest. Hear this and let it repeat until it sinks. Truth is not what you say. Truth is what you perceive. Truth is not what you say. Truth is what dawns upon you as presence. Truth is not what you say. Truth is what becomes conviction in the heart region, the quiet yes that needs no argument. Until that conviction appears, be content to be wordless. Stand ye still. Do not grade yourself for not feeling it yet. Do not engineer a feeling. Consent. Yield. let the river rise of itself. There is a holy sequence in prayer that cannot be reversed without losing the sweetness. First, the settling, then the witnessing, then, if it is given, the word. The settling is that 1-minute relinquishment in which the personal sense loosens its grip. The witnessing is the inner recognition, the subtle beholding that something other than your thinking is present and authoritative. Only then, if a word appears, let it be the overflow of what has been witnessed, not a substitute for it. Without witnessing, words are like seeds thrown on stone. With witnessing, a single syllable can open a garden. Use this as a gentle diagnostic in the very moment. Am I trying to force God to arrive, or am I consenting to recognize God already here? If you are forcing, you will feel hurry in the body, a pushing on the inside of the throat, a need to convince. If you are consenting, you will feel softening, perhaps very slight, the sense that breath is given, that attention widens by grace. Forcing strains, consenting receives. Forcing talks, consenting listens. Forcing aims at a result, consenting discovers a presence. And here is the fruit of waiting. When the word finally comes after conviction, it does not strive. It does not argue with appearances. It does not try to hold back the ocean with a teacup. It simply witnesses. Peace, be still. Not as a command shouted at waves, but as the description of an already present calm. Words that proceed from conviction carry the authority of what they announce. But when conviction is absent, words scatter like chaff. Therefore, do not be satisfied with a statement of truth. Wait until truth becomes felt conviction, and then let the prayer speak as communion, or let it remain silent. Either way, the Spirit has prayed. In this sanctuary into which we have just retired, a fact awaits our acknowledgement. The storm has no authority here. Out there, in the theater of the senses, anxiety parades its images. The future catastrophe running reels across the mind, the body flaring with heat or tightness, the inner prosecutor reciting accusations and deadlines. And each image carries a demand. Attend to me, bow to me, interpret reality by me. Attention is worship. When we stare at the waves and argue with the wind, we are paying tithes to the weather. But here, in the inner room, the tithe of attention belongs to the presence. We will not feed the phantoms with our gaze. We will not bargain with apparitions. What then is our stance? The battle is not yours, but God's. That does not mean you deny sensation or pretend the images are not flashing. It means you do not fight sensation with sensation, thought with counterthought, fear with a louder voice. You rest as that awareness in which sensation appears and disappears without becoming identity. Practical language helps, and I offer it because it trains the heart to recognize its own altitude. I am aware of fear. Therefore, fear is not my identity. I am aware of tightness in the chest. Therefore, tightness is not my life. I am aware of the storm. Therefore, I am not the storm. The witness is never the scene witnessed. The seer is never the picture. The Christ is the seer. Now, do not confuse this with passivity. Waiting out a storm in spirit is not loitering in a doorway. It is holy labor. It is conscious abiding. Each time the mind runs to consult the forecast, to check the clock, to measure the pulse, you return. You return to the sense of the chair, to the softening of the jaw, to the unforced breath. You return to the simple consent, here I am, until here I am yields to I am. If in 1 minute you must return 100 times, do not call that failure. Call it practice. Call it 1 minute filled with 100 acts of fidelity. Every return is a fresh confession of where authority lies. As you watch without wrestling, something becomes evident. The storm performs. You behold. The body surges. You behold. The accuser speaks. You behold. And that beholding is not cold detachment. It is warm recognition that presence underlies all motion and is moved by none. Little by little, or all at once, you discover a self that is not being blown. The self that watches is untouched by what it watches. The waves make noise, and the shore remains the shore. Stand ye still and see. See that the very capacity to notice fear is already larger than fear. See that the space in which thoughts shout is silent, and the shouting cannot bruise it. In time, the storm does what storms do. It passes. It always passes. And what remains is what was here before it rose. The Christ awareness, the sanctuary, the quiet yes of God. When you stop wrestling the storm, you do not earn peace. You uncover the one who was never at war. This is our deepening. To abide as witness until the witness outshines the weather and names it what it is. A passing show before an untroubled sky. Now let the veil be lifted a little further. That witnessing which we have tasted, that awareness untouched by the waves, is not a talent you developed overnight. It is not a technique. It is the advent of Christ in you. And do not read that through the eyes of the world, or you will look for a far-off person, a figure to persuade, a rescuer to arrive on some spiritual schedule. The Christ isn't a man or woman. The Christ is a divine state of consciousness. It appears in some degree as every man and every woman who ever drew breath. Its fullness we call Christhood, but its living spark is the light that lighteth every person coming into the world. You are not trying to reach it. It is forever reaching you. It is forever at the door, knocking, not as an event in time, but as a presence eternally here. Why does this matter in the hour of anxiety? Because if the Christ is external, then your panic is misread as proof that God has stepped out of the room. You begin to bargain, to plead, to perform, as if a distant sovereign might be brought back by the right word. And when the feeling does not change quickly, the heart concludes, I am abandoned. That is the cruelest lie of material sense. But if the Christ is indwelling consciousness, then panic is not a verdict, it is a veil. It is weather on the surface of a sea that does not cease to be calm at its depth. Veils are lifted, verdicts are final. Which shall it be for you? Stand ye still, and you will find that panic thins when presence is recognized, not when performance is perfected. Let me give you a ladder your heart can climb in the very moment. Christ is presence. Christ is assurance. Christ is the peace that passeth understanding. Christ is the life of me. Take those not as slogans, but as gentle recognitions. Christ is presence, already here. Christ is assurance, not argument. Christ is the peace that passeth understanding, felt before and beyond explanation. Christ is the life of me, not a visitor, not a supplement, but the very life that lives me. No one need fear the Christ. It destroys nothing but the false claim of separation. Here is a further correction, and it will save you from spiritual exhaustion. You are not trying to perform prayer like a saint. You are letting the Christ principle pray itself as your awareness. I can of mine own self do nothing. The holy doing is the holy yielding, in which the inner word speaks itself as you. When you cease imitating another's demonstration and consent to be the transparency for this one presence, comparison ends, hurry ends, and grace does what grace alone can do. So in your 1 minute, do not summon, be summoned. Do not reach, be reached. Quiet the personal sense by that simple consent, here I am, until it yields to I am. And notice how liberty appears where strain was. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. The storm may still perform in the senses, but the soul in you knows without drama, the Christ is here as consciousness, as your very life. And therefore, relief is not coming from outside. It is rising from within as recognition. Stand ye still and see. Now let us bring this down into the very movement of your next prayer, so that it becomes communion and not petition. Petition asks the wind to change. Communion consents to perceive what is real when the mind is quiet. If you read prayer through the eyes of the world, you will miss the great point and think you must persuade a distant deity. But in communion, you and I do one holy thing. We become still. We yield personal will, and we listen until assurance appears of itself. The battle is not yours. Stand ye still, and let the inner yes replace the inner hurry. Here is the simple structure. Carry it in your pocket. Use it in your kitchen, in the hallway, between phone rings. Pause. Feel. Yield. Listen. Only then speak. Pause. You stop the performance. You retire a single minute. You let the hands fall open. Feel. You notice the chair beneath, the breath unforced, the heart region softening even slightly. Even a sliver of softening counts. Yield. You relinquish the management of outcomes. I can of mine own self do nothing becomes not a sentence, but a posture. Thy will be done, not as resignation, but as recognition. Listen. You wait without agenda for the presence underneath the sound to make itself felt. And only then, speak. If a word is given, let it be the overflow of conviction, not an attempt to create conviction. What does listening yield? Sometimes it yields a clear next step, simple and clean. Make the call and say, I was wrong. Send the email that says only, forgive me, and nothing more. Eat and rest, not as escape, but as order restored. Tear up the second plan and return to the first, because peace attends it. Sometimes it yields nothing to do, only the release of urgency, and that release is itself the answer. Sometimes listening uncovers forgiveness. Your adversary becomes your brother as the heart recognizes one life wearing two names. And sometimes there is only the quiet itself, and the quiet is enough. Do not despise the quiet. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the need to fix in order to feel safe. Understand this. Discernment is not reasoning. Reasoning rearranges appearances. Discernment beholds principle. Reasoning says, if this, then that, and ties knots with clever string. Discernment is the inner recognition that rises when the soul is tranquil. The sheep knows the voice of peace and turns. It is not deduction, it is revelation. It does not debate the storm, it witnesses the sky. It does not plot rescue, it perceives presence. And because it is born of stillness, it carries authority without strain. So let prayer become listening until assurance is felt. Not a forced feeling, not theater for the nerves, but that modest certainty in the heart region that says, God is here, and requires no proof. When assurance rises, words, if they come, are few and sweet. Peace, be still, not as a spell, but as a description of what you have already met. And if no word comes, rest. Communion has occurred. The Christ has reached you. Stand ye still and see. Now let us be very simple and very steady. The 1 minute is the door. It is not the palace, not the furniture, not the feast. Excuse me. It is the hinge on which your whole day can turn. 1 minute changes everything because it interrupts the trance of fear. It breaks the spell of personal management long enough for presence to be recognized. But hear this and let it set your expectation rightly. Deep stability does not come by opening the door once. It comes by returning often, by touching the knob 100 times a day until the habit of pressure yields to the habit of presence. The minute is the door. Walking through it again and again becomes a way of life. How do we live it? In the ordinary passages, where life feels most ordinary. Before you answer a text, pause 1 minute. Before you open the email, pause 1 minute. Before you turn the key in the ignition, 1 minute. When the brake lights stack up on the highway and the chest rises, 1 minute. Standing at the sink with dishes, 1 minute. At the threshold of the meeting room, hand on the knob, 1 minute. After you hear the news that stirs the stomach, 1 minute. When the house goes quiet at bedtime, 1 minute. When the eyes open in the morning, before the mind picks up yesterday's unfinished script, 1 minute. These are not grand retreats. They are brief retirements into the sanctuary. You are not fleeing the world. You are letting the world be re-seen through presence. And what is the work in those minutes? Do not make the mistake of thinking you must produce peace. The work is not to produce anything. The work is to stop producing strain. The effort is to relax from effort. We do not manufacture calm. We cease manufacturing control. We do not hold the river still. We stop building dams with our anxious hands. Breathe as given. Let the shoulders drop. Whisper in the heart region, "Here I am," until "Here I am" yields to "I am." And let the Christ awareness, which is already at the center, declare itself without pressure. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the inner foreman who shouts, "Hurry!" Now, because we are honest, let us speak of setbacks. There will be mornings when the minute feels thin and the storm feels thick. There will be afternoons when, after 5 faithful pauses, anxiety reappears at your elbow with its clipboard. Do not grade yourself. Do not announce, "I have lost God." You cannot lose the infinite. The reappearance of anxiety is not evidence of absence. It is evidence of something to see through. Another veil, another gust across the surface of a deep sea. Return. Return again. If in a single minute you must return a dozen times, call it a dozen obediences. Every return chisels a channel through which grace runs more freely. Every return weakens the throne of the personal sense and strengthens the sweet habit of recognition. In this way, the minutes begin to string themselves like beads until a rosary is formed out of your day. The door becomes a hallway. The hallway becomes a home. Life ceases to be organized by pressure and begins to be conducted from presence. You will still answer texts, open emails, make calls, wash dishes, drive in traffic, keep appointments, but the inner posture shifts from "I must manage" to "God is here," and the tasks become the temple in which communion continues. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord. Not once, not twice, but many times, briefly, gladly, until stillness is no longer a pause taken, but the climate in which you live. This is integration. The minute of stillness is the doorway. 1,000 small passages through that door become a life practiced from presence instead of pressure. Now we must do the one thing that seals all the rest, so that tomorrow and next week the heart remembers its way home without argument. The birth of the Christ within is not certified by fireworks, nor by a sudden talent for oratory. In the language of spirit, birth is recognized by homage. Always, when the inner light is discerned, even faintly, there rises a voluntary act, simple and unforced, dictated by the heart. No law commands it, no preacher can demand it. The wise men were not coerced, they were drawn. It wasn't the babe itself, it was the Christ which that babe embodied that received their gifts, their kneeling, their adoration. And so with you and with me. When the presence has been recognized, something in us bends, something in us offers, something in us says without rehearsal, yours. Do not make a superstition of this. Symbols are sincerity when they are born of recognition. They are bargaining when they are born of fear. God is not persuaded by posture. Yet the heart, when it knows, seeks a way to say yes with the body, so that the whole of you bears witness. So choose a token that arises without strain. Not as a technique to get a result, but as the overflow of what has been found. Perhaps, after your 1-minute stillness, you kneel quietly where you are. Perhaps you place a hand on the heart and bow the head. Perhaps you light a small candle on the kitchen counter before breakfast. Perhaps you write one simple sentence, "Thank you for being here," on a scrap of paper, and lay it where you will see it again. Remove your hat in the doorway. Take off your shoes at the edge of the room. Set aside a coin or a flower, any clean sign that says, "I acknowledge the presence that was never born and never dies." This is not performance. It is reorientation. In that kneel, in that hand on the heart, in that brief flame, you are laying down the personal sense and honoring the life that lives you. You are saying, without many words, "I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within doeth the works." You are turning the attention tithe from the storm to the sanctuary. You are placing your day, your plan, your cleverness at the feet of the principle, and standing up lighter, because what cannot bear your life is no longer trying to. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, and devotion is the body's way of acknowledging that liberty has been tasted. Let us not leave this as theory. Return now, even for 10 seconds, to the inner room. Feel the chair hold you. Let the jaw soften. Place the hand upon the heart, just there. and let the breath be given. Whisper, if you like, "Here I am," until it yields to "I am." Notice, no striving, that the edges of you step back half an inch, and in that space, presence is already here. Let gratitude arise. Not gratitude for a promise of rescue, but gratitude as evidence of recognition. Gratitude is the heart's yes. Let it be the last word in this moment, and the first word when you rise. Thank you.